Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Cathers. I'm Executive Director of the Kentucky Arts Council, and I want to welcome you to week 2 of our ongoing series through the month of May, celebrating the art and culture of Kentucky. If you joined us last week, it was a very interesting conversation that we had, learned a lot about Appalachian music and music from other cultures, and just had a wonderful experience. And we're looking forward to that today as well. On behalf of the Kentucky Arts Council staff and board, I want to welcome you to week 2 of this series, and I want to provide a land acknowledgement before we get started. A land acknowledgement is a formal statement that recognizes the unique and enduring relationship that exists between Indigenous peoples in their traditional territories. Today, we stand on ground occupied by ancient peoples whose history has been lost, but whose legacy still remains. The evidence of these ancient people can be seen all over Kentucky through the mounds and artifacts that are left behind. Today, over 170 American Indian tribes are represented by their members living and working in the Commonwealth. Let us honor those who were here and those who are here now, and build on the legacy of stewardship of the land that they left for us and to the 7th generation. And with that, I'd like to welcome Mark Brown, our Folk and Traditional Arts Director for the Kentucky Arts Council. So Mark, take it away.
Thank you, Chris, and welcome everyone to the second installment of this year's Celebrating Art and Culture of Kentucky. We began the series 2 years ago so we could learn more about Kentucky artists and communities and how they contribute to the Commonwealth's dynamic cultural landscape. This will be a facilitated conversation where the personalities and the values of the artists will be the focus. Cintia Segovia returns to facilitate today's interview. She is an artist and assistant professor of art and design at Murray State University. She shared her story during Arts Days last year about her role in the traveling exhibit, Our Kentucky Home, Hispanic and Latin American Visual Art in the Commonwealth. Today, Cintia will talk with 2 artists who are also part of the Our Kentucky Home exhibit, Mercedes Harn and Deyanira Esmeralda Martin, also known as Esme, both of Lexington. Mercedes and Esme practice all kinds of art forms, including the art of quilting. They are current participants in the Kentucky Arts Council's Folk and Traditional Arts Apprenticeship Grant Program. Mercedes is a mentor and Esme is her apprentice in quilting, which is a living tradition in their Lexington community. Today, we will hear about how they share their identity and culture through quilting and the other art forms they practice. The artists on our program today are bilingual, and they will switch into Spanish often during the conversation as they talk about artistic and cultural ideas. Therefore, some of the conversation will be in English and some in Spanish, and Cintia will translate from Spanish to English as needed along the way. And now let's get started as we turn it over to Cintia Segovia.
Buenos días a todos. Good morning, everyone. I'm so pleased to have you here today and to listen to the great artists Mercedes and Esme. So Mercedes and Esme were also in the traveling exhibition that I was part of. So we're all visual artists, and we also share a lot of different connections. Nuestras conexiones culturales también abarcan no nada más el arte, sino la parte de dónde venimos, nuestros orígenes, la comida, los colores, ¿no? So as I start this conversation today, I would like to ask you both, Mercedes and Esme, why did you apply to this program?
Well, I initially, applied to the program to be able to pass, a very interesting art that I learned here, which is quilting. That I, like my daughter wasn't really interested into learning to quilt. And, Deyanira, Esmeralda, actually, show her interest that she always wanted to learn. So I'm thinking, well, this is a great opportunity to, the Kentucky Arts Council giving us the funds in order for us to make a project and both, and at the same time, we learn at the same time, something that it was it was good to take advantage of. So like I really enjoy to be part of, and well, thank you to the Kentucky Art Council for to the opportunity. Esmeralda, I'm mute.
A ver, te voy a mandar un mensaje para que te silencies.
Ya,
Muy bien.
ya. Sí, es increíble esto del arte del quilt. Yo siempre había soñado, siempre había querido en mi país aprender acerca del quilt, pero no, en mi país no era para todos. No era para todos, no todas las personas tienen la oportunidad. Entonces, cuando llegué aquí y vi la oportunidad de estudiarlo, dije, sin duda, es un sueño hecho realidad.
Okay. So Esme said that she had always had this dream since she was a child, and then in her country, which is Mexico, quilting is not something that is available for everyone. It's it depends on economics, and that's something that she couldn't access to in Mexico. That's great. Sí. Y ahora, ¿qué han traído ustedes de su cultura? De cada una, o sea, ¿cómo le ponen así el picante o el sabor? Tú no comes picante. ¿Cómo le ponen el sabor?
La salsa.
La salsa. How do you put your own flavor of your own culture into your art?
For me, for quilting, I try to do the traditional ways of making it, but I love to to add my colors on it, and that's how I add my culture on it. I wish for painting it's nature. I always paint nature, which I also an artist, a visual artist. So when I do my own culture, I try to put on my art in general what is something related to nature. And colors shows where I'm from. I think if you put together two quilts from this country and another country, it shows how different they look like. Like I was able to evolve into the, initially when I learned quilting, which, they taught me with traditional colors. And so therefore I evolved into where I don't really feel the traditional colors. So I had to switch for colors that are more vibrant and modern, which is, like, I love very, like, I feel that which I don't want to, minimize the other colors, but I think they are very traditional and old. And so I like to just add it a little bit more fun and upbeat colors.
Okay. And Esme, antes de que vayamos contigo, déjame, Emily, can you put some of the first slides so they can see?
Lorito.
Sí.
Okay, so aquí podemos ver a little bit of what you guys have been up to with the quilting. So
yes, it's a very long process. If you are into this art, like Esmeralda learned pretty quickly. That is a process that is a very patient process, and then it takes a long time to be able to make one quilt, and it will take it is a difficult thing to praise and to price, to put a price on it too, because it takes a long time to make. So she was actually doing she did this quilt for an exhibit, in an international women's exhibit, and she called it 4 Seasons, and it was great. She's a great student, and she learns pretty fast.
Thank you.
No
Muchas gracias.
Tell us
Bueno,
more about this quilting.
Sí, realmente sí se necesita mucha paciencia. Aprendí a tener paciencia, a trabajar, porque yo soy un poco más activa. Si empiezo algo, soy así como que quiero terminarlo. Entonces, a veces pues se bloquean las ideas, ¿no? Por ejemplo, ¿cómo integro parte de mi cultura?
Espérame tantito, Abby.
Sí.
She said that she's very impatient and she just wants to do it and she just wants to like get it done. And with quilting, she had to learn like how to be more patient and like think about like what is the next step and all those things. And now she's gonna talk to us about her culture, how she integrates her culture.
Sí, por ejemplo, en este caballo de arriba, creo que no se alcanza a ver muy bien.
Ah, sí, sí se alcanza a ver.
Ahí está. Ese caballo,
She's showing us the horse that is on her screen. So
sí,
Emily, that's good. Thank you.
este caballo tiene incorporada pintura, tiene incorporada tela. Entonces es una parte de incorporar el quilt en cierta parte, porque yo trabajo con telas que van formando como la parte del cuerpo, y así integro mi cultura con telas que reciclo, con colores. Obviamente a mí me gustan mucho los colores que brillan. Es parte de mi cultura, los colores que sobresalen.
A ver, síguenos mostrándolo para que lo pueda decir. So she uses a lot of her recycling materials. So she recycles the
Corbatas.
She recycles ties. So to make these collages and or paintings, and she also likes very bright colors. So she integrates that onto also the painting part. Una persona dijo que le encanta el patrón que utilizas.
Ay, muchas gracias. Este es en una Canva, y este caballo que está aquí está hecho 100% de tela. Es parte del aprendizaje que tuve con Mercedes.
And this is all quilting, and this is part of the work that she has done with Mercedes.
Esta es una técnica que se llama appliqué, que también me encantó. O sea, me encantó. Mercedes me la enseñó.
Le pongo 20.
Obviamente.
¿Mande?
I give him an A. I give her an A.
Sí, entonces aquí podemos ver las puntadas, los colores, que obviamente me gusta que sobresalgan los colores y se ven en el marco.
Y so she integrated the colors like on the frame that are very very like much of her culture, and also the theme, like I can see also the integration of the Kentucky. So veo ahí Esme la integración de Kentucky con los caballos.
Sí, we did that on purpose. We did that on purpose.
Yeah, so can you tell me more about how you integrated like Kentucky culture into your own art?
The Kentucky contest is always all again nature, you know, like I do normally get my inspiration on it, and but you know, like doing horses are not really my, not because I can do it. I can do a horse, but I don't know why it's not exactly the animal that I will pick. But obviously, since we are here in Kentucky, and it's the horse capital of the world, so you know the majority of people ask to do horses. So I normally will try to integrate those on my. I have a slide presentation. I couldn't bring my artwork with me and not on my house, but I did make a small slide presentation. If you allow me to share my screen. Of course. I don't know if you can see this.
Yes.
So this is one commission that they and you know, like this, it put all my skills. The thing that I could actually put on this piece that is mine is as you can see again is the colors. And for applique the same. We learn. This is the last technique we learned, by the way. And again, you know, the person that shows this image, you know, taught us this part. Her piece looks completely different than our piece, and so that's how I get to put a little bit of me on the pieces that I made.
When you said, Esme, ¿qué es lo que tú has traído de incorporado de Kentucky?
Bueno, he incorporado parte de caballos, he incorporado parte de paisajes, he incorporado en algunas alteraciones en mi propia ropa. Este es un sombrero y un vestido con el que participé en Día de Muertos. Aquí lo que he incorporado, pues de aquí
So
son,
she wore this costume for Dia de Muertos,
sí, sí,
and
sí,
so
sí.
she made it. ¿Verdad? Tú lo
Ah,
hiciste, ¿no?
Sí, yo hice el sombrero 100%, el vestido me ayudaron a cortar la tela, mi amiga Zoraida Beckley, mi amiga y mentora, porque fue la primera que me ayudó y enseñó a coser, y con ella pues prácticamente terminamos este vestido. Relacionado con el curso que estamos terminando ahorita, gracias a a la beca de Kentucky Arts Council, también estoy participando con lo del quilt, con el Fantastic Collage Quilt. Sí, los detalles son demasiados.
Wow.
Yeah, no,
Y-
that is a very nice. I mean, like the whole entire, we did a
Yeah.
workshop and taking advantage again of that, our grant, we did, a professional development, I call it. We always have to learn something, and so therefore we actually entered to this class, and she taught us, another applicate technique, which is, is kind of cool. You have a couple of more process. You have to wash it like 3 or 4 times, and then the end process, the end and the final product is magnificent, and you can use that to make a whole entire quilt, I think. So,
Perdón, aquí se puede ver cómo integro mi cultura porque tengo una Frida, que es parte
So she
100% de mi cultura, es pintora, es una artista melancólica que está incorporada en mi quilt. En la parte central,
sí.
aquí está mi
So she
Frida.
integrated Frida Kahlo in her quilting, and so she likes that because she's a painter also, and also she's a she was a melancholic artist, and that's another way that she has integrated her quilting, and she's thanking also the Kentucky Arts Council as Mercedes
Sí.
the opportunity.
I put some words in Spanish too in that piece, but
Oh, good, good. And by the way, Esme, están recibiendo muchos mensajes también en el chat
sí,
de
sí,
alguien que
Muchas gracias a todos.
Station
Sí.
Gallery en Cintiana.
hola mamá.
Ahí mi mamá también contribuyó, dijo que el collage está muy hermoso.
Gracias.
Qué bueno, muchas gracias.
Feliz Día de las Madres.
Sí,
And
muchísimas
today's-
gracias en México y para las madres hispanas, feliz Día de las Madres.
Hoy,
Sí, en México.
So
Feliz día.
today in Mexico is Mother's Day, so I congratulated my mom and also Esme and Mercedes for in their day, even though I don't know when Mercedes. When do you celebrate Mercedes?
Nosotros celebramos el Día de las Madres el segundo domingo de mayo.
Okay, so the second.
Ya,
Weekend of May.
el domingo que
So,
viene, sí. Este domingo.
Sí.
And also Sarah Smith said something about the crossover between Esme, cómo se cruzan los caballos también en la cultura de mexicana y centroamericana y latinoamericana.
Bueno, en nuestro país no tienen tanto el valor.
No, yo no me estaba diciendo que también.
Oh, ya.
Yeah.
Sí.
Okay. So, Mercedes, you mentioned a little bit about how the colors were different when you learn quilting. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, I guess, like it is an antique and an old art and an old craft. They started to using colors that I learned about, the freedom quilts. And so they use fabric to recycle fabric in order to make those quilts. So they use any clothes that they were available. So they use, and the freedom quilts mean that they told a message to the people when they put the quilts outside out of the world. It means something, a message. So I'm assuming that obviously those clothes wearing the clothes that they were wearing and so often and all things. So the colors were not, until I learned my craft in 2005, 2006. The people that still doing the tradition quilts, they were always using fabric that they were dark brown, those kind of country colors, I guess it is that you can say that they are country colors, like your typical, beiges and like that. I learned that way. My first quilt looks exactly like that. The teacher taught me how to do hands. So I entered into a class which I met Zoraida, one of our best friends, the mentor, Esme's mentor there. And we were taught to hand sew a quilt and hand quilted. And since there I was, long away. And then while the the craft ball, because I have done lots of quilts, all given away. I never saw any quilt. Oh, you having a baby? Oh, I give you one. Oh, you have something like that, So I give many quilts away, and they were all evolving, from soft pale colors at the beginning to, more bright, like rainbow colors at the end. We have found lately a person that we make our last quilt with, that makes the different applique, paper applique. And so I love that, because you can, combine and use different colors, not necessarily the one that she's using, in order to create something similar.
Yeah, okay. Ahora, ¿cómo ven? Me interesó esta parte que mencionas de economical aspect, like how you were giving away your quilts.
Yes,
So
I saw your expression.
Yeah, I'm like, that's very interesting, because
number one, it takes about a month to put a quilt together, no matter what the size is and the time. If you sit to put a quilt together, the one last week we saw it, and it has so many parts. The one we did, you probably have one, one slide here and there from that quilt from the Kentucky the Kentucky craft of that quilt took us months to make. Like one block took us about 4 hours to make, from the top to cut, and and so therefore that is it's difficult to give price, to put a price into somebody's artwork. I know they wouldn't be able to afford it. Then the majority of my quilts are given. So I give you a piece of literally of my time, of me, my energy. So I give you that, and I know it's a loss, but I think it's not. I think it's that one. Yeah, that is it took such a long time to make that one. We were both. I have the experience in that one. She was learning completely, so the whole entire thing was difficult. But put a price on that one. We were trying to figure it out how much it was. I said, well, $2,000. She said, ¿cuánto quisiste tú ponerlo de precio, Esmeralda?
Ok, yo no conocía de precios, pero por ejemplo, a mí se me hizo caro ir comprando poco a poco la pieza. Cuando vas comprando los materiales.
For Esme to buy the materials for this quilting class, even though there was support on that.
Sí, yo creí que se iba a vender con unos $4,000, $5,000, porque realmente el trabajo es demasiado. Se le invierte mucho tiempo, paciencia, le inviertes energía, le inviertes amor en cada puntada, porque también si no te gusta o quedó mal, en mi caso, pues yo agarro y desbarato y vuelvo a empezar.
So,
como que
for Esme, she thought that it should be like $4,000 to $5,000. And because that's how much time she put on it, and also there is like the unquantifiable of love, and for her, like when she makes a mistake, she tears it apart and starts over to improve it.
En realidad es muy difícil ponerle precio, porque, por ejemplo, si yo no conozco los precios de mercado, pero si es para un amigo o un familiar, pues realmente es más el sentimiento, el amor que le pones para hacer una obra de un quilting.
So for a friend of a family member, is even like she cannot put a price on it, because she does it thinking about the person that she's gonna give it to, and all the love that goes into making it for that person.
It goes a lot of, of good feelings and energy. All my family members that are here, they have one piece of my quilts, right? And they love it. Like
soon you can do a big installation. You make a party and then you put them all together.
Yeah, those are, like they get all of it, they take all of it, and it's good, they take it with love too, they have it where they play, use it proudly. I love my pieces, all of them, but they were all pieces for me to learn. Like I don't think there is one time that I say, well, I will stop learning. So I just get one piece as okay, I'm gonna put this together to see how it works, how long it will take, and and I having fun lately with putting things as I go. So I just little extra piece of fabric. I put in something like a puzzle to see how, and I have fun with those, like mindlessly without thinking, just like think, put together. It's like I like the process of quilting.
Sí. Refiriéndonos al proceso, para mí, que acabo de empezar, de que estoy aprendiendo apenas, a mí me llevó, hice un conteo para armar un solo cuadro, digamos, un solo animalito. A mí me llevó 22 horas armarlo.
So she did a small quilt in her first project and it took her 22 hours to make a small one.
Sí, eso sin contar cuando tienes que cortar la tela. Bueno, vas a comprarla, la lavas, la mides y la cortas. O sea, esas son unas extras. Realmente es un trabajo fuerte, pesado, pero es un trabajo que se aprende con amor porque uno puede transmitir nuestras tradiciones. Tenemos chance, tenemos la oportunidad de incorporar colores, imágenes, tradiciones, no sé.
So Esme has loved doing quilting because it's a way for her to communicate her traditions and her culture and her love in a visual way that someone else can have as well. So something related to that, like we are talking about labor, right? And how like labor is difficult to quantify and how we don't have like a very specific way of like pricing our art. But when we think about the art market, we can see like prices going like everywhere. So how do you feel that that the art market treats you coming from a different background and learning something new and also like innovating, in quilting really and integrating like different cultures?
Right. I think it is has to be also that we are Latinas, we are girls. Our market, it's complicated. We have to be proactive for our arts, and we have to somebody has to be really looking at our arts and purpose in order to be, we seek for our opportunities. I think other ethnicities has more, they're more view, more value, more, they just, immediately support each other. It's kind of complicated to make yourself a space in a Caucasian, market. So we are always looking for each other and to support each other as Latinos. But it is kind of difficult also, because you have to be a really, really good one. You say, like in order to stand out and to give your $10,000 for your art piece, okay, we don't, and so also it is when we go to an art show and we put our pieces there, and our pieces are so different from the American public. So our audience also are not. There are audiences that are going to be drawn to, look at that color, wow, and they always tell us what great colors. But I'm going to go with the beige. You know what I mean? Because they will go to buy our piece, but they're definitely not. They like it, but they're not sure they're going to put it on it. And like I don't know, bright colors. It's not so used to it. So therefore, the audience that we are aiming to, our Latino population won't buy our art pieces. We won't. We are not people culturally that will go to an art gallery and buy an art piece. It's normal. We are targeting American artists, right? American people. And so they're not used to our work. So it's kind of complicated because we do want to be creative and do what we want to, but yet they're not, I don't think we're targeted correctly unless we do 10 horses.
No, but also I just want to interject there, that also is economics, right? Like as immigrants, we might not have the same buying power than someone else.
Definitely. But I don't think culturally we will go say, okay, we're gonna 5 pieces of those normally, even though the price is, I don't consider myself, my pieces are as expensive as, like a male white artist. That's gonna do $10,000 over my piece, which is only 600, and it's like that. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you for sharing that. Esme, ¿qué piensas?
Dale.
¿Cómo afecta la economía y tu color de piel
Pues afecta bastante porque de entrada están los prejuicios de las personas. El prejuicio de una persona blanca sobre una persona de color es bastante pesado, ¿no? Generalmente pueden llegar a decirte, qué bonito arte, pero no te lo compran.
Okay, so in Esme's experience, the color of her skin has also influenced because there is a lot of prejudice against like how she looks, and so they might see something like, oh, how pretty, but they don't really consider buying that.
Sí, el hecho de que también seas una mujer artista es otro obstáculo porque generalmente el campo para los artistas es más demandado por los hombres. Entonces piensan que si el pintor, el escultor, el hacedor de quilting es hombre, es más valioso que una mujer.
So that also the gender she has faced the discrimination there because she sees how male artists sell their work for more money than female artists.
Sí, yo tuve un punto malito experiencia en la exposición del Kentucky Craft, porque llegó una mujer. Obviamente, en determinado momento me quedé sola en el stand.
So entonces, she's telling us a story about that was a little bit discouraging about how she was in a stand selling their work, but she was alone for a short while.
Sí, ella veía el cartel de introducción donde decía que éramos 2 chicas latinas, una peruana y una mexicana haciendo quilting tradicional. Y ella me dijo, tú no puedes hacer quilting tradicional. Le dije, ¿por qué no? Y me dijo, porque tú no eres americana. El quilting tradicional es exclusivamente de personas americanas y tú no eres americana, tú no eres blanca.
Oh, this is like very interesting. So she was alone in the stand, and this woman passed by, and she stared at the poster that they had saying that there is the introductory poster that said we are 2 Latinas, one from Peru and one from Mexico, and we are selling our traditional quilting. And she told Esme, you cannot be doing traditional quilting. And Esme said, why? And she said, because you're not American, and traditional quilting is made by Americans.
Sí, ella hizo mucho hincapié en que era exclusivo de la cultura americana, que además no eran los colores, porque nosotros usamos en nuestros quilt, pues colores que resaltan, usamos animalitos, figuras, y las señoras quilters que estaban a un lado tenían patrones tradicionales. Entonces, el hecho de que me hiciera esa anotación de que yo no tenía derecho a hacer quilt porque no era americana, me pegó así como que, ay, ¿por qué no?
No, she doesn't know the story that African Americans, African slaves did those quilts. So how will she respond to, wait a minute, so you're calling those that are not, they were here already. So therefore they are also Indian Americans. They do also quilts, and they do I think it's the Morning Star, like those stars. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but those are made by Indian Americans, and there are quilts that are done by African Americans, specifically, freedom quilts are done by African Americans. Okay.
Awesome. That's
I guess.
so just to circle back to the when Esme, the end of the story, she said that the people on the other stand next door, they were doing like more like what the woman was expecting as traditional quilting, because they had patterns and like the colors were more mute, and Esme was doing like integrating like animals. That is also something that is from our culture in Mexico. Like there is a lot of animals and alebrijes and all sorts of things, and also the colors that are more vibrant. That's great. And
Sí,
Mark remarked on the online that is a teachable moment. Yeah. Mark dijo en el chat que
Let me
es
be there. And I was like,
enseñarse. Y ya Mercedes ya se va a poner los guantes aquí.
Sí, yo simplemente traté de ignorar sus ataques racistas, porque eso era para mí un ataque racista, y empecé a coser. Estaba yo cosiendo este caballo y seguí cosiendo y se fue. Y el hecho de que ella estuviera ahí fue como tener una espinita en el dedo, pero comparado con todas las personas que llegaban y nos decían, qué bonito arte, qué bueno que están exponiendo, qué bueno que hacen animales, nos encanta, lo adoramos. Todas esas personas disminuyeron esa espinita que había sembrado esa
Oh, that's
señora.
good. So that was a very something that bothered her a lot, and she said that it was like she would continue to sew, but then it was like a little
spine
on thorn on her finger. But then the what she took away from it is all the compliments that she received from other people. That's great. I'm glad that you see it like that. Can I move on? I realize that we are getting very close to our close time. So I want to just show them also what you did in our Kentucky home. So can we see, Emily, can we see a couple of the slide 9 and 10 that those are Esme's? Y Esme, también puedes ahora continuar con tu comentario mientras que vemos las imágenes.
Oh, claro, algo que me encantó fue el aprecio de las señoras quilters que tenían 45 años de experiencia, porque ellas se acercaron a nosotros y nos decían, qué bello, qué hermoso, nosotros no podríamos hacerlo porque nosotros tenemos otra formación, o el que me dieran sugerencias sobre una marca de hilos en especial para trabajar mejor, fue algo muy lindo de su parte, de las señoras, muy
they were
gentil.
very nice. They
Oh.
were very, very nice.
Yeah, the other quilters that had 45 years doing quilting, they were very complimentary, and they thought that the way that Esme was integrating the quilting and her own culture was very nice. So it was.
I think it's one of the perks of quilting, because when you quilt with somebody, you bond. And I think in all times they did exactly the same thing. They gathered together, they sit together, they talk to each other, and you bond with the person that you're quilting with because of that. And so the ladies that we were there, and I haven't experienced any other way with other ladies that quilt, that they're very nice, and that we bond each other through fabric, and then we talk, and when we're working, we're talking and we're bonding. And I think it's not all girls do quilting, guys do too, but I think it's really, really nice that we are able to experience and talk and be able to let everything out. And that's one of the perks of this art. When you actually are painting, it's you and your painting. I normally, you put the headphones and use some music, and I do, but quilting is a social art. And you have to do it.
It's a good therapy.
Yeah, it's a good therapy for sure. It's like, okay, let's go have some coffee and let's quilt and do something together. Yeah, it's very, very nice experience.
Sí, definitivamente.
Emily, can we, since Mercedes just talked about the relationship, can we switch really quick to number 4? And then I still want to talk about our Kentucky home. This is like something, right, that you did together. You can
Yes, this is the first quilt sample that we actually did together.
Sí.
Yeah, it's her first quilt. Because I
Sí,
need your homework.
sí, ese quilt es 100% hecho a mano, no tiene, es 100% hecho a mano, totalmente, lo aprendí de Mercedes, mi mentora en quilters, con patrones y todo cortado a mano, pura puntada a mano tiene ese, es el más largo que he hecho. Demandó muchas horas, pero bueno, todo salió lindísimo, me encantó.
Yeah. Oh,
All my first
yeah.
screens are hand piece by hand. There's all my first one. My kids have all one piece of me done by hand, totally, completely.
Oh.
Yes.
Esme said that this is the first one and it was the longest one because it's all made by hand. So that's awesome. The slides, the 9 and 10 that we are going to see soon, these are Esme's. So the question, I want to show first the slides. So 9 and 10 are Esme's, and I want her to talk about that. And also 11 and 12 are the paintings from Mercedes. And maybe as a close question to close this is like the community, like how do you guys build community in Lexington, and what does it mean to you to have, like how have you formed a support system in Lexington?
Well, I like to, I have a very big list of persons that I know, and I have been knowing for a long time since I started, experiencing music, experiencing dances, experiencing art in general, visual arts. So I love to curate, art shows. I love to put together those. I feel that women and Latinos need more support. That we don't have to only do it on March when it's Women's Day or Women's Month, and we don't have to only do it on September when it's Mexican Independence, etc. That we like to, exhibit through the whole entire year. And so I would love to, I always finding galleries that are willing to go for, okay, let's gonna do an exhibit about Latinos in August. Because we're eat, we have to eat, and we have to, present our pieces this way. Also, I am the president of the board of Casa de la Cultura Kentucky. Ooh. And I've been president this is my last year as a president. We rotate presidents. It's not that I'm gonna be the last year on the board. So we like to break bridges in between the younger generation and when they come here to Kentucky, they don't know, really experience their own culture. So what we like to bring their culture to them in order for them to learn their culture. It doesn't have to be Mexican. They have dance, different Latino dances, merengue, they have dance, Cuban dances, and, Peruvian dances even. But the whole entire idea of the classes that we bring, which is normally dances classes, is that they're going to be in the target language, which is Spanish. And but all the community is welcome. We have classes, embroidery classes, we have art classes, etc. So I am really happy to be part of the of this board, and looking forward to work with the community. Anything that is good for the community is good for the Casa de la Cultura.
Okay, thank you. And Emily, thank you for showing that. Like, I think people got a chance to see that. Esme, ¿cómo ves tú? ¿Cómo es la cultura en Lexington?
Bueno, de entrada me fascina. Yo cuando llegué a esta ciudad me sentí muy apapachada.
She was very welcome in the Lexington.
Me sentí segura.
Very safe. That's something that she didn't have before, clearly.
Ya, y lo que me encanta es que es una ciudad llena de cultura. Por donde veas hay murales. Me encanta tener contacto con tantas personas. Me encanta el concepto de multiculturalidad.
And there is a lot of art everywhere, and culture, and the multicultural, like a lot of diversity, cultural diversity.
Porque aprendes de primera mano, con tu experiencia face to face, aprendes de otras culturas, aprendes de otras personas. El regalo, yo pienso que uno de los regalos más grandes es la amistad. Y
Oh,
en
and
esa
she has,
amistad, sí.
and she has learned a lot from from other cultures, and the biggest gift for her is to make friendships with people from different backgrounds. Oh,
Sí, me encanta que la ciudad esté tan involucrada en diferentes ámbitos del arte porque mis hijas tienen la oportunidad de ser parte de, sin ser excluidas. El hecho de ser latinas y bailar representando nuestros bailes de nuestro país, nuestro vestuario, nuestro maquillaje, todas las cosas que usamos es maravilloso. Yo trato de que mis hijas no olviden esa parte, de que la tengan presente y sepan de dónde vienen sus raíces.
and she loves that in Lexington, her daughters can have a full life, and learn about have their own background, like on the forefront, and at the same time, like being accepted for who they are. That's so great. I'm going to open up the space for Q&A. Would anyone has any questions? ¿Alguien tiene alguna pregunta?
And mute yourself. We can hear your
Oh,
voice. No?
creo que lo pueden, no, creo que nada más lo pueden escribir. You can
Oh,
write
yeah.
your question.
Me encanta esta ciudad porque nos da la oportunidad de mostrar nuestra cultura, definitivamente.
Oh,
Mostrar,
El Lexington al menos, ¿no?
sí, 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 sí.
De repente también Lugo.
Lugo es demasiado grande.
Grande,
Se
grande.
pierde. Son más elitistas.
¿Ah, sí?
Sí.
Okay, here Esme said that she loves that in Lexington they are really open to arts and like to showing their work, and that's something that she feels that is more manageable because of the size of the town. So Sarah Schmidt said mencionaron los animales en el tema del quilting, y cuáles son los otros temas que ustedes van a explorar en el futuro, y y de qué dijimos de alebrijes.
Sí, en mis planes está hacer un quilt que integre alebrijes o animales fantásticos, porque de repente es un poco complicado el término alebrije, pero animales fantásticos me encantaría.
Esme would love to integrate in the future fantastical animals or alebrijes, and that's Sarah, you picked it up very well, because we were talking about alebrijes in a little bit before. So Mercedes,
that would be great, you know, like I will help you out 100%. I like to, you know, like to keep my things simple, and I like the art of a quilt, but I like more the functional part of the quilt. So I like that it serves a function of doing. I like the art piece, sure, but I really like to say, okay, let's gonna cover it. That is something that you treasure, that you go to bed with, that is with you, that has your energy on it. I like to explore more than the colorful part of it, more than the an application. You know, like many people suggest to me to work and put art in my artwork, then to put some fabric on it, because I love quilting and I love art, and it's okay. I can do both. I can experience both sides of it. I like to experiment with my paintings, and I would like that, and I play with it, and I can do quiltings at the same time, and I can do many things, and I don't have to put them together. I always pressure me, why don't you do, you know, mixed media? And I can, fine, I can do that. But you know, like the only way I do alebrijes, like I was telling you in the beginning, is like I'm doing alebrijes with my students right now. This is the one I did last year. This is an auxiliary. This is 5th grade students. And so we did the papier mâché first. This is the one that they are just in the process of painting in it. And I taught the subject, and you was like, okay, let's gonna do something fun for the end of the year. And they learn animals in Spanish, and they learn the culture of Mexico, alebrijes, and we did all of it, and we built it. So right now, my classroom is a mess. They're gonna make grants for the arts, and they're gonna say, oh.
I think that question is good for closing up our conversation.
I had to work.
Yeah, I'm on a time restriction today. Because
Yes.
Mercedes has to
And he
do
told my
something.
principal, he's great. He's very nice. He's really, really
So
nice.
I'm going to hand it over to Mark, and then maybe he can take that question.
I'll be happy to. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Mercedes y Esme. And it was great to see even more of your artwork today that I've never seen before. Feliz Dia de las Madres.
Yeah.
Gracias.
Thank you, Cynthia, for a wonderfully facilitated conversation and translation as well. Learned so much from you all today. We had a question about support for artists and arts projects, and I'd like to direct your all's attention to artscouncil.ky.gov. We have a folk and traditional arts apprenticeship grant, and that's what we've been talking about today with Mercedes and Esme. It supports folk and traditional art forms that are shared living traditions within a community. You can learn more about that at our webpage, artscouncil.ky.gov. You can also contact me with questions about that grant. It's mark.brown@ky.gov. Thanks everyone for joining us today. This video will be available on Facebook. It will continue to be on the Kentucky Arts Council Facebook page under videos, and later on our Kentucky Arts Council YouTube channel. So you're welcome to share the video with friends if you like. And I'd also like to encourage you to register and come back next week, May 17th, for our Native Reflections presentation. This will be a conversation with Native American and American Indian artists of Kentucky. Again, it'll be hosted by Cintia Segovia, and the artists will include Fred Nez Keems, a Navajo musician and flute maker of Harrodsburg, and Jeanette Parent of Princeton, who is Cherokee and also a visual artist. So look forward to seeing everyone again next week, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Muchas
gracias.
gracias por la invitación
Gracias,
y muchas gracias por el apoyo a Kentucky Arts Council. De verdad, un sueño mío hecho realidad hacer quilting. Gracias, Mercedes, por ser mi mentora. Gracias, Mark, eres un amor de persona, muy gentil. Gracias, Cintia, me encantó tu traducción, eres fantástica.
Sí,
Oh,
muchas gracias a todos. Thank you,
Sí,
Mark.
gracias a
Thank you,
todos.
Kentucky
Thank you.
Arts. Thank you, Cynthia.
Sí.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.